Now, I've known our next speaker for a number of years. I don't actually remember where we met. Do you remember, Jonny?
Powwow.
Was it a powwow?
Yeah.
Was it really? That's interesting. That was a sort of creative networking group that me and my good friend Tim Elliott over there ran before we... Did we do that before Marketed Live? Yeah. We did, didn't we? Oh, those were the days. But Jonny's been a huge supporter of Marketed Live right from the get-go, and I'm thrilled to have him speak here today, because do you know what? We live in a really weird time. Yeah? Like, to the point where I could totally get on board with the whole this is a simulation thing. You know, there's just too much going on now that's weird. The stuff that's on TV and all that kind of stuff. And it just feels like it's getting odder and odder and more chaotic. Particularly now we have a Prime Minister in place who literally believes in chucking out raw sewage into our waterways, which is, like, you know, literally a load of shit. Yes, thank you. Did you get that, Jonny, on the tape? Yeah, good. We can edit it so there's more laughter. I think what we see these days is really quite polarising. And I don't really understand the point of culture war. I don't really understand how we got to this point. It just feels a little bit wrong and divisive. I would much rather us come together and build these communities that John is going to be talking about today. Because, you know, if you have a community like we've got here today, thank you for being part of ours. If you're going to fight for something, actually building a community of people who have similar values and similar thoughts and similar feelings is a great way to start. Now, despite what people think, I am quite an optimistic person. So I think what am I fighting for is better marketing, more creativity, the things that we're here to do today. So I hope you're finding that this is useful for that. But let's hear from someone who knows a lot more about it than me. Let's welcome a good friend, Jonny Prest.
Are we on? Can you hear me? Oh, it's working. Nice. Oh, that's not a good start. Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm Jonny Prest. Nice to see you all. I know a lot of your faces, your beautiful faces. I've got a question right here that I want you to think about straight away. And that is, what does your brand community fight for? Now, when I ask that question, probably a lot of people know instantly. You might have a mission statement, you've got a purpose, a foundation, values. You can say straight away, this is what I fight for. You switch it off. Oh, it's off. Okay, and you'll know straight away what that is. For some of you, this question might seem a bit strange. You might not know the answer. Or it might seem a bit fluffy. So I'm going to ask a different question. What do you fight for? Now, I'm not going to make you answer this straight away. I just want you to kind of sit with that question for a little bit, and then we're going to come back to it through this presentation. Just have a think about what it is that you fight for. Okay, so who am I? So I'm Jonny Prest. I like to think of myself like a superhero, a little bit like this person right here. Now, if you've laughed and you know who it is, I know your age. So you were probably brought up in the 80s or 90s, or you're a bit older and you're a real geek. But does anyone know who that is? Captain Planet, yes. So I'm not really like Captain Planet, and obviously I've superimposed my face on there. You'll see that through the whole of my presentation. I always find superimposing anyone's face on people's bodies is really funny. So I don't wear super tight red pants and I don't have blue skin anymore. But I do believe in what he believes, and that's trying to fight pollution and trying to fight for the planet. But I'm not really like Captain Planet. I'm probably more like one of these. Do we know what one of those are? A womble. Yes, again. It took me about 3 hours to do the nose. Yeah, wasted my other half just kept seeing me just doing that on Photoshop. So, what are you doing? So I've got to get the nose right. So I don't live on Wimbledon Common, but I am really, really hairy. But what it is about wombles that I truly, truly love is that they hate waste and they hate pollution. And this is what I'm all about, really. Katie was talking about values and belief systems. And actually, a lot of my belief system comes from this. It's one half. The other half of my belief system comes from this, is that I really, really love creativity. And I think we're all creative people. And like, Thierry was saying, from data analysts, that we can all be creative. And I love it. But I truly believe in community. And it's something that we've all lost, definitely through COVID. And it's something that's really important, that we need community. We're tribal humans. It's what we thrive off. And actually, if we are going to make a positive difference in the world, in our own careers, in our own families, in our own lives, those 4 things are going to be important, about understanding waste, understanding pollution, loving creativity, and believing in community. So where does it start? I think the whole waste and pollution thing started from when I worked in a kitchen. So I worked in a professional kitchen in a restaurant. It was a French restaurant. And I was a kitchen porter, which is a kind of really posh way of saying I was a pot washer. But my job every single day was to get all the food that hadn't been eaten and literally pour it, vats and vats of food, into the bin. We're talking about meat, roast meat, beef. We're looking at curries, stews, and loads of veggies, loads of food. It all gets thrown away. That's one restaurant, by the way, out of hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions across the planet. And I just thought it was absolutely disgusting, and it changed me forever. Like, I used to bring the food home every single day, and my mum said to me, "You've got to stop bringing it back." And I just couldn't bear to throw all this food in the bin. And then it kind of really affected me. And from there, I thought, I want to do something about this. I want to reduce the amount of food waste. So what I did, I took this hatred of waste, and I used my creativity, and I merged them together. And then that's how I started my career. So this is some early work that I was doing. And I was working on campaigns in household waste, in food waste, and then it moved over to recycling and reusing. I worked with Love Food, Hate Waste. I worked with Recycle Now, Derbyshire Council, Leicestershire Council, nationwide campaigns. And most of the campaigns that I worked on was actually looking at youth culture and trying to educate young people to change the way they think about the way that we behave, we consume, we throw away, we eat, everything, the behavior. These stats, you look here, all household, 20% of food that we have actually gets wasted. It's actually gone up since then. It's about 10 years old. We've actually gone up to about 13 now, going on to 40% of food waste gets wasted. And I just thought it was bad. So these are these campaigns, and we've developed this now. And at Seed, we work on national and international full campaigns on similar subjects. We're looking at regenerative agriculture, space technology, but it's all based around less, wasting less and being more. Now, on the far right-hand side here, you'll see that I've done lots of work with recycling. And when doing these recycling campaigns, I had to travel around the country and go to recycling plants to find out how it was all separated and how we did it. And one thing I learned very early on is that it's done very, very badly. It's contaminated, it all gets thrown into one pot. And what we had to do is we had to go to landfill sites to have a look at the way that all this rubbish was going. Has anyone ever been to a landfill site? They are horrendous. In the summer, they spray them with chemicals because there's that much disease and bacteria in these sites. And the smell, however, is just insane. So then I knew there was a problem. And what I knew then at that point is that something had to change. But when I was at these landfill sites, I found a new enemy. So I went beyond waste, and I went beyond food, and I went beyond the rubbish, and I found my new enemy, and it was this. It's plastic. Single-use plastic. So we're not talking about all plastic here. The thing I'm holding is plastic. This is plastic. This is plastic. The car that you maybe come here, the train, is made of plastic. We're talking about single-use plastic. It's something that's used once and thrown in the bin, often can't be recycled, and will go to landfill, and will sit on this planet up to 1,000 years. Now, you think of climate and plastic pollution, they might be two separate things. They're all relative. It all boils down to consumerism. It all boils down to fossil fuels, because we use fossil fuels to make plastic. And this was at the point where I knew I had to change my life. And what I tried to do, going from there, is try and understand the the magnitude of what plastic pollution is doing. So here's a few stats for you. Only 12% of household plastic is recycled. So everything that you put into your recycling bin, if you do recycle, only 12% of it's recycled. 17% of it is shipped overseas. We don't really know what's happening when it's shipped overseas. We know that some people are sending it back. We know that it's going to landfill, or it's just getting chucked into water systems. This is all taken by the Big Plastic Count, by the way. So this is all data that came from this year. 46% of it is incinerated. Now, the gas that's incinerated, they do try to keep it quite, they try to get rid of it safely, but it doesn't. It goes into the atmosphere. It's releasing carbon into the atmosphere. And 25% of it goes to landfill. I've mentioned how bad these landfill sites are. Now, of all this plastic, 83% of it is food and packaging waste. Okay, so it's your food, it's your health and beauty products, it's all the things that we consume day to day. So at this point then, I knew that something has to change. Now, out of all my other campaigns in food waste and recycling, I felt confident to be able to go up and talk about it, to do campaigns about it, and do national campaigns on those things, because I knew that I could reduce my food waste, and I knew I could do recycling. But I struggled with single-use plastic. I had to think, I can't go out and preach about, well, we should stop using it if I'm using it myself. So I made it my mission to go plastic-free, and this is how I did it. So how did I go plastic-free? So, by the way, has anyone here tried to go plastic-free? Can I show of hands? It is so hard. Like, you have to completely change the way that you eat, like your medication, everything. It is really, really difficult. And it's taken me years, and I'm a long way off doing it. So first things first, I had to change the way that I shop. Okay, so the phase one was anything that couldn't be recycled, I wouldn't buy. Now, I had to change my diet completely because all the things that I loved, I couldn't buy. That was phase one. Phase two was I wouldn't buy anything that was recyclable. Okay, so I had to get rid of everything. Now, if you look at my shopping there, most of it is glass or card. But on the top there, you've got yogurt pots. You can't get rid of yogurt pots. There's plastic on that. There's little plastic film bits on top of mayonnaise. What the hell is that bit there for? So you can't really get rid of it. You can only do what you can do. But over time, I worked out how to remove plastic from my weekly shop. Top there, become great friends with your butcher. If you do eat meat, find your local butcher. Now, there are lots of artisan butchers out there. They are quite pricey. But they're not all. We went past an outdoor and indoor market just down the road from here. You've got to find your local butcher. Now, if you want to bring the convenience thing up, which often does come up, well, it's not convenient, most people do deliver now, and they do prior to COVID, that they'll deliver it to your house. So you can get your meat delivered to your house, and your butcher will deliver it in Tupperware. Tupperware is going to become your best friend. Plastic, by the way, but not single use. Okay, your other products, your soaps, your hair and body products, you can start to look at other ways and other ways it's packaged. Hessian bags and canvas bags are your other best friends. So your Tupperware and your other bags, you've got to take them away with you everywhere, just in case you go to the shop. You've got to start using these things. Your refill. Everywhere now there's refills. There are refill stations in co-ops. There's refill shops. You've got to start getting used to refill. It's not great at first. It does take a little while. There are companies like Good Club who will actually deliver it directly to your house, and you just got to buy lots and lots of jars. I bet some of you are thinking I'm crazy doing all this, but it's the only way. The other thing you've got to do is you've got to start getting familiar with your markets, whether it be your local indoor, outdoor market, fruit and veg, or farmers markets. Now, I know it's sounding like this is going to cost me money and it's inconvenient. And at first it is, but actually what you tend to find is you find a way of making it convenient. And for me now, it is as convenient as going to the supermarket because they deliver and you can do these things. And again, refill stores. So it's taken years and years to do it. But once I got to this point, I thought, I can tell people about this now. I know how to do it. I practice what I preach, and now I'm going to go out and I'm going to scale this out. So I started thinking about how can I turn Leicester plastic-free? We could be the first plastic-free city in the UK. And I believed, and I still believe we're going to do this. So I believe that it starts with the market, the indoor market, indoor and outdoor market in the center, and it literally is the center of the city. It starts there. They deliver to 3 wards within the city center. So you don't need to go in there, you get it delivered straight to your house. I started looking at how then we could look at mobile refill stations that could come to your house, or you could go to your local refill store. Again, markets, bakery, how we can use different packaging and different processes to get produce to your house. Recently, there was Unwrapped in Derby that were doing the same thing. The difficult one was meat, because actually most of the single-use plastic is on dairy meat. So how do we actually use meat? So we looked at loads of hygienic ways of creating packaging for meat to get it out. So wrapping the meat, bags for the meat, weighing it all, minced meat, etc. And we had to test all these different things. And by the way, I wasn't getting paid to do this. I did it because this is something I fight for. Then I had to then put together a project proposal. And I took this proposal to anyone that would listen. I had 2 meetings with Leicester City Mayor. I had meetings with the whole of leadership of Leicester City Council. I had meetings with the city manager in Leicester, and anyone that would listen. Business networks, regenerative networks, everyone. And eventually it boiled down to there was 2 pots of money that we could pitch for. One that was a central pot from government, and another one that came from the business community. And I had all these meetings, and in 1 week, I had both answers to then pilot a scheme in where we were going to start it in Leicester Market and scale it over 18 months. And over those 18 months, we were then going to launch plastic-free in every single shop and launch it across the city. Nothing. Too early, too hectic, didn't understand it, didn't connect with it. Everyone said no. It was a very, very simple pilot, very, very cheap to do, easy to do, and it didn't happen. To say that I was deflated was an understatement. To say that I was underwhelmed was an understatement. It really, really shocked me. Probably 18 months of work off my own back just went silent. Nothing came of it. So why is that? Now, one of the funny things that came about from this was the city manager, the person that pretty much runs the city with the mayor, said something to me. And this was totally sarcastic when she said it, was, "Your utopia sounds lovely." So I sold her this vision of plastic bags. That's all it was. We're going to remove plastic bags and plastic packaging. Your utopia sounds lovely. Plastic bags? That's not my utopia. Tupperware? Hessian bags? That's not my Tupperware. That's not my utopia. This is my utopia. This is next year when the world burns. And I'm going to just come out with my top off as a barbarian. There's the energy bosses, by the way, out here. Liz Truss was down here, but I cut her out. She's over there, look. No, it's not really my utopia at all. So this is how I felt. I felt like this is the people that care. You're all in this green circle, by the way. I think you're all here, I think. And this is all the people that don't give a shit. Okay, that's how I felt for a long, long time. And I just kind of gave up on it. But over time, as I came out of this dark hole, I started to realize this is not how people think at all. You know, I want to delve into why is it that people aren't engaging with some of these important things. I know it's not for everyone, but it's a very simple way of getting ourselves out of this problem. So how do we get more people motivated about climate action? And this is my work now. This is the deep work that I do on a daily basis. One of the things that I realize is that marketing can't save us. Like all the communications work, all the insight work, all the field study, the chatting to people, the coming up with campaigns, everything. I thought it was spot on, but no one connected with it. And I felt like marketing can't save us, but community building can. We've got to work together. And what I found through this process is there is actually a lot of people campaigning for the same thing. So what I realized very early on was I've got to stop talking to people who aren't listening. And that was my problem, going through the councils, going through leadership, going to all these people and getting them on side. And they were giving me lip service. They weren't really interested in it. It's too big, it's too audacious. They couldn't get their head round it. So I needed to move forward, and I need to do some more research here. So why are people resistant to change? Now, I've got lots of reasons why people are resistant to change, and if you can't read that, I'm going to read them out for you. So I'm going to come over here, actually. So the first one is climate denial. Thankfully, in this country, climate denial is not a huge thing, but in America, it's really bad. Another thing is, what's in it for me? Or a lack of understanding. We don't communicate this properly. We don't tell people about climate change. No, if it wasn't called climate change, but global human killer, I think people would care a little bit more. Most people like climate change, actually. They quite like the hot weather. Well, they did till this summer, and then they were bang out of luck, weren't they? So, poor communication, mistrust or bad timing. It is bad timing. Politically, there's a lot of mistrust, and it's hard to win people over through climate issues when they don't believe in their government. Reluctant to let go of old ways they've invested time and resource and energy in. We're going to have to change the way that we live. Now, to some people, that is scary. They don't want to change the way that they live. The loss of control, autonomy, and power under new rules. There is going to be new rules and new ways of living. The loss of job security, income, and prosperity. If you're a person who works in energy or works in manufacturing or construction that's heavily an industry that's a polluter, you're going to have to change. It's that fear of the unknown. I don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what next week's going to look like at the moment, let alone next year. A feeling of incompetence, unworthiness, and loss of purpose and value. The benefits and reward don't match the perceived effort and risk. It doesn't sometimes. Like all the work that I've done to try and even pilot a scheme where we could reduce single-use plastic went on deaf ears. So the benefits don't give reward. And this is a big one, the geographical irrelevance. So all these kind of climate change problems, most of it's happening in Central Asia, Central Africa, Central America, where there's drought, famine, there's climate injustice and slavery. It's not on our doorstep until this summer. It was on our doorstep this summer. And actually people are starting to think and listen now and see that. Look at the energy. It's not all Putin. There's other reasons why we can't get energy, because it's a scarcity and it's a finite substance when we should be thinking about renewable. So why is most UK climate action not working? This is the old way that we used to do things as marketers, and you'll probably resonate with this, is that what we used to do was we'd recognize the syndrome, make people aware of the issues, respond with solutions, and then call it out. So food waste, we'd do that. The reason why we wash our hands in hospitals is because of that. All these things, that's how we used to do it. But why does it not work anymore? So this is the reason why it doesn't work. People don't want to be lectured. There might be people in here now thinking that you're being lectured by me. That people don't want to be demonized, that they've done something wrong. They don't want to be criticized. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be made to feel like it's their fault. Because that's how we communicate it. You use energy, you use your car, you go on holiday twice a year. Your fault, your fault. People don't want to be greenwashed, talking about supply chains, or we're this and we do that. We're a B Corp, but you can't recycle our products. It's bullshit. People don't want to be coerced. They don't want to be confused. They don't want to be seduced, and they don't want to be frightened. And that's the big one there. They don't want to be frightened, and that's what we do with climate action. That's what we do with climate communications. We try and frighten people, and that's why it's not working. And you remember, humans are creatures of habit. You can't change overnight. And why is it that it's mainly young people leading the way for activism, disruption, and change-making? And I don't believe that in this room, but in general, it is young people that are doing it. And it's because the older we get, the less tolerance we have for risk. We don't want risky. We come solid in our ways, don't we? We don't want change. We don't want things to move. We've got our houses, we've got our cars, we've got our holidays. We don't want to change the way of our life. And actually, what is the cost of not acting? So I ask that question again. What do you fight for? Now, when you boil that question down, often we get to the same answers. What most people want is they want safety and they want peace. Now, the irony here is, if we don't do this, we won't be safe and it won't be peaceful. You can already see now, like, places are ready to burn. People are ready to stand up against what's going on. It won't be safe and it won't be peaceful. So we have to change. There is a solution, though. Don't go worry. It gets better. Don't worry. I'm getting warmed up. It's all right. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not going. Yeah, and I know I'm the only thing that stands between you and lunchtime as well, so don't worry. I'm going to make you hungry. Okay, so what's the solution? This is what I think we should do. We should declare the possibility. Right? There's lots of possibilities and opportunities here. We name the hurdle, so we know we've got some tough times ahead of us, but let's frame a choice. A choice. It's not the choice, it's a choice. And then we empower the solution. And then some of the words I want to highlight there is possibility and empower. So what I think we should do is that we empower the ideation of possibilities. Okay, we give people back the power of what they can do. They create their own, they empower them to create their own decisions. They create their own ideas of the possibilities of their own life and the life of their children and their friends and their families. So here are some of the possibilities and the solutions. The first one is new innovation. There's money to be made in the green pound. Like there's money to be made in moving into new markets. There's money to be made in diversification. There's money to be made in new technology. And actually, if you do these things, you will put yourself ahead of your competitors. Whether it work for yourself or work for a large organization or you work for your clients. And this is where it gets interesting for new innovation as marketers. A healthier lifestyle. Those images that I showed you about using your markets, about going to these places, you become a better cook. You have to become a better cook because you can't buy the food that's wrapped in plastic anymore. You learn to cook. When lockdown happened, what did you see on the roads driving around? Or if you did drive around? People running, people cycling. That's what these type of big human problems cause. People actually work and live and behave better. You will become healthier by doing these things. I don't know what the time is, by the way. It says I've been on for 200 minutes, so I'm just going to keep going and see what happens. Just cut me off when I'm done. The other thing is, it's a simpler, less stressful way of life. Now, I don't know any successful entrepreneur, whether it be a multimillionaire or they've just started up in their skin, that wants a more hectic life. No one does. Like, we all want a simpler, less stressful way of life, but actually changing the way that we live. And the thing is, this is the word here, less. We've been brought up in schools to think of more money, more jobs, faster car, bigger house. Why don't we think about less? Why don't we think about having less things, less holidays, less traveling, less work, less stress? The power of less is so important right now. We all want a less stressful way of life. That's why people don't want to go to the office, because they're sick of working in offices that make them stressed out. That's why they don't want to come back to work. It's not because they prefer being at home, it's that they don't want to be around arseholes anymore. The last one, saving money and time. Like, you save money doing these things. By being in your car less, going to the office, you're saving money, you're saving time. I used to drive it up and down the M1 all day long, right? I don't do that anymore. I'm saving petrol. I'm not putting more fumes out into the world. I'm saving time and I'm saving money. It is going plastic free and making these changes in your life. Some ways are more expensive and less convenient, but sometimes being a bit more expensive and less convenient isn't always a bad thing, okay? We should think about the way that we think about our behavior and consumerism in a different way. So how do we do this? Okay, there is a way of doing this. And now this is what I'm going to put back to you. Two things. Help people create a vision of their future. We facilitate this as marketers, as our clients, as campaigns. We help people create a vision of their future. We facilitate it. We show it to them. We show them what life could look like. We show them what their businesses could be. Let's get people excited about it and not demonize them and make them feel scared. And let's help people co-author their new narrative. Okay? We can work with ourselves and our clients and our families and our friends to help them co-author their new narrative. Now, this is where creativity will come in. This is where insight comes in. This is where we have to then try and guide people through insight, through brand, to try and rethink how they're going to build their business and live their lives. Marketing can save us. It can save us if we do this. if we not think of ourselves as marketers, but as people that can guide people and facilitate interesting conversation. So my utopia, it's not really me swinging an axe around my top off. I did that was a long time ago. And by the way, that fiery room that I was in, that was my hotel room last night, by the way, because it was so hot in there. It was ridiculous. And that's not a sexy thing or anything. It was just too hot. Right. This is my utopia. This is my utopia. It's cities with green spaces. It's biodiversity. It's community gardens. It's renewable energy. It's solar powers. It's people using public transport. It's people cycling and running and doing the right thing. We have a way of getting out of this. And it's up to businesses, to everyone to play their part. But the future is looking bright. It's green. We can do this. But we've just got to start making little changes. And I do believe that communities will do that. So back to the question, what do I fight for? It's quite simple. These people. That's my family. That's the only reason why I do it, is these. So it's not about my future. I might not really see climate change in my lifetime, but they are. They're going to suffer. So that's why I do it. So that's who I fight for. Now it's back over to you now, guys. So I want you to all stand up. All stand up. Right. I want you to do a little thing about that original question. What do you fight for, okay? Okay. And I want you to put your hand in the air. Put your fist in the air if you feel a bit more powerful. And after 3, I'm going to shout. And after 3, I want you to tell me what you fight for. So 1, 2, 3, and you say it, okay? So 1, 2, 3, go. No, we can do better than that. One more time. One more time. I want you to tell me it's truly what you fight for. 1, 2, 3. Love it. Thank you.